Welcome back to another video, guys. SmackYoG here, and I've been giving some thought to this recently. There are so many Marvel characters in the comics that would absolutely be busted and could potentially break this game. I wonder how big heroes and villains will be adapted in Marvel Rivals and how overpowered they'd be. So, with that in mind, here's my list of 5 different Marvel characters that would absolutely break Marvel Rivals. And please bear with me. I know my Spider-Man gameplay sucks. This is probably like the first and last time I will play this character, so I'm sorry if it's just not up to your entertainment standards. But let's get into it. The first character on my list is the Mad Titan himself, Thanos. He's one of the biggest Marvel villains of all time and one of the most powerful at that. I think the MCU nerfed him because he was a true force of evil in the comics. He's literally just obsessed with Mistress Death to the point where he kills half the universe just to impress her, only for her to still be in love with Deadpool if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, Thanos is a tank, and one hell of a villain. He fits the Vanguard role perfectly and has a multitude of abilities at his disposal. Adapting them would be a headache, but I'm sure the game developers would make him fun to play while showing off as much of his power as they can. The writers of the character dictate what he can do pretty much, but I think some standard abilities he should definitely have are some energy blasts reminiscent of Captain Marvel. I think he would be mainly melee based like the Hulk, and his ultimate would absolutely have to be the Infinity Gauntlet. Personally, I want Thanos to have his own season as a villain, just as Doom is getting. I have no idea when we'll get to see Doctor Doom as a playable character, but I know the fans are hoping for it. Just as I know they would be hyped to see the main man himself, Thanos, become playable in this game. Thanos being an eternal deviant from Titan definitely fits as a multiversal villain and would be the perfect antagonist to follow Doctor Doom's footsteps in the story. After bringing up one of the biggest villains of all time, I have to try and go above that. So coming in second place, I got the Monarch of Evil himself, Mephisto. He's pretty much a demon of hell and is a huge villain in Marvel Comics. He has so many abilities, but I think he'd best fit as a magic and energy character. Honestly, the more I think about it, he fits the duelist category the most. Being a powerful demon lord, I think it's fitting that he has a variety of abilities at his disposal to inflict damage onto his enemies. This could come in the form of sorcery, as I mentioned before with magic and energy, as he does have connections to Doctor Strange as one of his enemies. He has a lot of powers to soul and even reality manipulation, but I'm not sure how that would work. He definitely has to control and manipulate fire, and maybe even give him either teleport or some sort of flying or levitating capabilities. This dude can have so many powers, so I would love to see what the devs would cook up for him. I think energy, magic, fire, and some sort of manipulation for his ultimate like Doctor Strange would be a perfect fit and would go with the lore. I think Mephisto is another big villain that screams multiversal threat and could perfectly fit as yet again a follow-up antagonist in the story. Since the X-Men are a huge part of Marvel and we can expect a majority of them in this game, let's go with the god of mutants, Apocalypse. Again, going with the theme of big bad villains that can have their own season, the Age of Apocalypse season would go crazy. This dude is one hell of a villain, going so far as destroying what he deems weak and inferior. He's obsessed with evolution and wants to create a race stronger than mutants. Basically, survival of the fittest, an adapt to survive mentality where he wants the strong to reach their full potential and eradicate the weak. He's a very scary villain, and I know you probably think I would put him as a vanguard since he's such a tank, but I think his whole outlook on evolution makes him even better as a strategist. He uses celestial technology to enhance his own strength and power to rival that of Omega level mutants. Basing his kit off of this, I think he would be better suited as a DPS focused strategist similar in manner to Adam Warlock. He's got a massive amount of powers to choose from, so I'm not too picky of what abilities the devs would give him. I just think he should revolve a lot around evolving his team and bringing the best out of them. That could come in the form of team-ups and synergies with mutants like Psylocke and the other X-Men. Maybe he has a similar theme to his usual 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse where he has 4 heralds that all evolve in a sense and their abilities are enhanced. His ultimate could maybe boost the whole team too, so that could be incorporated with the celestial technology. His healing could come in the form of his tech, but I think that's a bit lazy with how much I'm relying on that. His actual mutant powers could be a primary focus of attack and healing, maybe even giving him a telekinetic grab to save his allies like Lifeweaver, or pushing them back like Sue Storm does in this game. His mutant powers aren't what make Apocalypse super powerful, it's his usage of them, coupled with the celestial technology, so that's what his whole kit would be. Making him a strategist would be huge in this game. Even seeing a hulking figure like him saving his team would be unique. And again, the Age of Apocalypse would be a fire season, seeing him recruit mutants across the multiverse for his cause. I want to take a second and bring up the Norse gods we have in this game: Thor, Hela, and Loki. With the likes of Angela being leaked to come to this game, who better to add more firepower to the roster than the destroyer of Asgard? Surtur is a massive villain for the Asgardians, and I absolutely believe he should be in this game. Not only would it shake things up, focusing on the Asgardians, but he could potentially be another big time villain. His whole season could revolve around the prophecy of Ragnarok. His main thing is that he brings Ragnarok upon Asgard using the eternal flame and pretty much destroys the world. This could be a multiversal Ragnarok, and the Marvel heroes have to stop him in the story. I don't want to focus too much on that, but he's one hell of a tank. That being said, he definitely has to be a vanguard. Not only can he control fire, but he carries his Twilight Sword with him. I see him as a fully visualized tank version of Magic, pretty much Darkchild, but with less mobility and more fire abilities. He can have a fire swing of his blade as an ability. His primary fire could just be swings of the blade. Another power could use fire projectiles or something similar. Think if he has a teleport like Doctor Strange, where he uses his Twilight Sword to rip open a dimensional barrier, that would be cool to see. His ultimate could be something similar to Hela's, where he puts on the Skull of Surtur and is engulfed in flames. It can either become huge and do massive damage, or levitate kinda like Hela's ultimate and shoot fire projectiles. I think maybe even a Doomfist Meteor Strike would work pretty well, while also causing the ground around him to be consumed by flames, inflicting damage after Surtur lands for some short amount of time. Actually, now that I think about it, I want to make his kit a little more focused on being a tank. The fire projectiles I mentioned earlier could just be a firewall he conjures up like Ramatra's shield. This could block damage, inflict damage as people walk through, and block vision like Groot's walls. Get rid of his teleport and incorporate that into his ultimate. So the wind-up animation would be Surtur ripping open a dimensional barrier with his Twilight Sword as he's engulfed in flames. This opens a teleport for his team only, where he then does a Meteor Strike sort of animation that opens the exit to the teleport for the rest of the team. This pretty much just combines the ability into his ultimate, which I think works much better, and one teleport ability on cooldown is enough. This teleport should stay a while longer than Doctor Strange's, and anyone near it takes damage from fire. With that, Surtur has got to be a tank, and would be one hell of a character to see break Marvel rivals. Finally, mixing things up a bit, I have a 2-in-1 character, being none other than the Sentry and the Void. These two are both hero and villain, being the same person, but nonetheless, they're an insanely broken character in Marvel. I'm sure everyone has seen the Thunderbolts trailer, and I'm excited to finally see this character adapted. For this, I think there could be a season revolving around the Void taking control of Robert Reynolds' mind. The heroes move to save him and revert him back to Sentry, at which he becomes playable once the season comes to an end. This would be similar to a sense of Blade being saved once the season is over and he becomes playable in Season 2. For simplicity's sake, I'll only refer to this character as Sentry from now on. He could either be a Vanguard or a Duelist, I don't really mind. Sentry has a ton of abilities like flight, energy projection, indestructibility, and pretty much everything else in the book. Sentry has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. We won't go into the topic of how he got those powers, but all I want to say is, don't do drugs, kids. He also has some psionic abilities which would be cool to see. I think that the perfect ultimate would be to actually switch to the split personality and become the Void. With this, I think that Sentry should fully turn into the Void similar to Darkchild, and focus around shadow manipulation. Whether that be instantly killing anyone with a shadow, your own team included, or having shadows stun enemies, or even having them become physical and begin to fight the team with a mini army of shadow fighters against the enemies. I got no clue. I'm not super familiar with how Sentry and the Void work, but I'll tell you this. They're one hell of a character, and I think Sentry deserves a fair shot at being in this game with his own season after the heroes save him from himself as the Void. To wrap this video up, these were 5 characters I think that would break Marvel rivals. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. There are so many Marvel characters to choose from, and even more that would break the game. If this video does well, I'll definitely make a part 2, so let me know if you don't want to watch that. Thank you all for watching.